New controversy swirling at DHS. A proposal from new DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin targeting cities with sanctuary policies appears to be picking up steam after it was initially floated last month.
If they're a sanctuary city, should they really be processing customs into their city? I mean, seriously, if they're a sanctuary city and they're receiving international flights, and we're asking them to partner with us at the airport, but once they walk out of the airport, they're not going to enforce immigration policy, maybe we need to have a really hard look at that, because we need to focus on cities that want to work with us.
So you're saying that big cities that are sanctuary cities that have a big airport, they might lose their customs?
Well, I'm saying we're going to have to start prioritizing things at some point.
Many critics at the time said there was no way that plan could be feasible. But now The Atlantic reports Mullin might be pushing forward anyway, saying the secretary met with a group of airline and travel executives last week, where he floated the idea of reducing Customs and Border Protection staffing at major airports that serve sanctuary jurisdictions. The author of that piece, Nick Miroth, is joining us now with The Atlantic. Nick, how realistic is this? How would it even work?
Well, it's hard to see how it could possibly be implemented, but Mullin met with airline and travel executives at DHS headquarters last week to tell them that he was really serious about this plan. The thinking is that it would be, potentially implemented on a limited basis starting after the World Cup, which begins next month and wraps up in July, and could include a couple cities such as Portland, Oregon, and New York City area airports, Newark, JFK. The travel executives have warned Mullin that the economic fallout from this would be enormous, and it would potentially cause a lot of chaos at the airports they're seeking to target.
You write, quote, Mullin's proposal appears to reflect a thin grasp of global travel logistics. And you say this kind of proposal would have huge ripple effects for travelers and the U.S. economy. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, it isn't as if, a traveler arriving from abroad at a U.S. international airport is necessarily going to that sanctuary city. So it's very difficult to punish individual cities by targeting these international airports. Someone, a European traveler coming to a business conference in Ohio may have to pass through Chicago or New York, which are sanctuary cities. But they're, the economic benefit of their visit is primarily going to Ohio. So the idea that you can contain this and really limit it to the cities you want to target, just doesn't reflect the reality of global international travel.
And I'm thinking of Americans who are traveling abroad and then trying to come home, and how much harder trying to figure out their travel itineraries could be. Americans are already frustrated as well over the cost of air travel. If this plan were to be implemented and create the potential chaos you described, does the administration grasp what this could mean politically in a midterm year?
Well, look, the Department of Homeland Security, Mullin, the White House, they're looking for ways to gain some leverage over sanctuary cities, to try to get sanctuary cities to bend and to get some political wins there in terms of their, ability to get more cooperation with ICE. They, their strategy of, going city by city and kind of punishing sanctuary cities with, a surge of Border Patrol agents and ICE officers, as we saw in Chicago and Minneapolis, that phase appears to be over for now. So they're trying to get more creative. They're saying, look, if these cities aren't going to cooperate, we're going to kind of pull back some of the other federal, DHS related services that they potentially benefit from. Now, whether or not they will do this one remains to be seen, given the kind of economic damage that Mullin has been warned about. But, he seems to be, trying to go forward with this plan.
Mullin's now been on the job about 2 months in this role as Secretary of DHS. What's different about the department under Mullin?
Well, when Mullin, was going through his confirmation hearing, he said he didn't want DHS to be in the headlines every day. So he's generally tried to kind of turn down the temperature, take a less confrontational approach, focus on bringing back morale among DHS employees, He had to navigate the shutdown during which many DHS employees were not getting paid. And so I think he's trying to push back also at some of the criticism from people on the right who think that he and Homan are backing down from President Trump's mass deportation campaign promises and from the very dramatic scenes of confrontation that they saw during Trump's first year. The number of ICE arrests is down a little more than 10%, since Kristi Noem was ousted by Trump and Mullen has come in. So I think they're also trying to show, for the president's base that they're looking for new and creative ways to pressure sanctuary cities and keep this mass deportation campaign of theirs on track.
Nick Miroff, thank you for sharing your reporting with us. Always good to have you.